Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Ibrahim Weizfeld here in Montreal, Quebec, and we're speaking with Steve Struggle, Black Panther speaking with the Jewish Bundist. This is revolutionary. And here we go. Steve, what's going on with you now?
I'm okay. How you doing? What's going on?
Lots, but, I want to get back to Palestine. I want to take care of things here in Montreal, get my
All
knees
right.
fixed up, and then, fly away back into the revolution.
Okay. Well, that sounds good to me.
Yeah,
Sounds fantastic.
me too. Now you
How's
were
your healing?
you
How,
were keeping tabs on what's going on in Africa right now.
I
There's
sure have been. It's been an interesting few days. Um, well, there was a coup d'etat in Niger last week, and to make a very long story short, a U.S. backed, Western backed, what I call puppet regime was overthrown by a group of generals from the army. The former president is under house arrest, and ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, and a bunch of other African lackey governments are all upset. Blinken is upset. Macron is really pissed because today there were demonstrations outside the French embassy. And I think the masses may have torched the embassy. So, which to me is a good thing. Now, here's, uh, you know, people can say, well, coup is not a good thing. It should be the masses in action. We don't know at this point. It's hard to tell what the coup leader's agenda is going to turn out to be. But to me, if a U.S. puppet is overthrown and put out, if France's embassy is being torched, it sounds like it's a good day in Niger to me.
uh,
This country is very poor, and it seems like they're going to try and take it by force. It seems like Nigeria is the nearest country that's going to quote invade next week
mm,
to reestablish the government.
mm,
Now, the U.S. government has its coups. Whenever the U.S. government wants a coup, it has a coup.
mm,
When France wants a coup, it has a coup,
mhm.
and nobody says nothing about it. It's fine.
Yeah,
But when somebody else has a coup, oh no, we want elections. Oh no, the rule of law. Oh no, we want this good governance. Oh no, we can't have this. It's
yeah,
all a bunch of nonsense to me.
yeah,
So, in my view, right now, if the French embassy is burning, let it burn to the ground. I
yeah,
don't care.
yeah, yeah,
Burn you and see there, but also there are U.S. troops in Niger fighting Al Qaeda and fighting Islamic State. U.S. troops
yeah,
get out the country.
yeah,
German troops get out and let the people handle their own affairs.
yeah,
This is nothing but imperialist meddling of colonial and former colonial powers in
mm,
poor African countries with uranium in it. So people
mm,
say the workers don't have any interest in this coup. Well, we'll see.
mm,
But the U.S. puppet is out right now, and that's a
yeah,
good thing. All they want are their puppets in power.
yeah,
That is
right
not
on.
that's not democracy. So that's how I feel about it.
Mm,
Then a story came out about Oppenheimer, this big movie Oppenheimer, or this guy who developed the atomic bomb. And I just sent you the link a couple hours ago
yeah,
about how Africans were working to mine the uranium with no protection on.
yeah,
And the people knew it was dangerous.
yeah,
So maybe if civil society gets off its behind, we get some reparations. But this is a
yeah,
current movie, a current story, again, focused on Africa.
yeah, yeah,
So, it's a lot happening in Africa, but I want to put my unequivocal support for the coup, not because I like the coup leaders, because the U.S. puppet is out. They
yeah,
need to all be dealt with. And and we'll see what happens this week.
Yeah. Do you know the name of the coup leader, the one that is the spokesperson now?
I can I was trying to get it before we started.
Yeah, I think we should know his name, because he appeared at the St. Petersburg, Russia, Africa conference that just took place.
I did not know that.
Like he was dressed like a African Che Guevara, and he was talking like, a socialist and everything. So I'm very intrigued, by this, because, that's how the Libyan revolution started with Colonel Gaddafi, doing a coup that only resulted in one casualty. And it took off from there, except he didn't finish it. And there was no constitutional assembly, no constitution that was, made to replace the previous king's constitution. And so it fell apart. But this, is a very interesting, coup d'etat. And we can certainly look forward to what's going to be happening as a result.
Well, let's see the jump. Let me get the name. Okay. Abdulram Chiani.
Yeah.
And the group that they've called themselves let's see here, National Council for Safeguard of the Homeland. There's always some issues about these names.
Yeah. And he wears a red beret. That's
nice. No. That's a gentleman from. I saw him at the African Summit, and that's something else to talk about. The African Summit is something else to talk about. But let's see if we can get his name, because I saw his image. I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah. This is something we should have planned for before we got this. And I thought that Mr. Prigozhin's comments were quite astute at the African Summit. He basically was saying Africa wants to get rid of the colonizers.
Yeah.
I thought Mr. Prigozhin was correct about that.
Yeah.
Personally, I think. Let me see if I can find this guy's name. I'm sorry, we should probably cut this part.
South Africa spoke also, to accept, extending its fraternal greetings to Russia in the name of the president, and saying that they were in favor of a multipolar world, and they had no interest in following the dictates of the United States of America, and they refused to boycott Russia, and that they will continue to work with Russia. And but they're not turning against the United States necessarily, and they say so. So they're not declaring themselves to be a revolutionary government or anything, but they're still rejecting the monopolization of the U.S. power over Africans.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's about time somebody does that.
Yeah.
Because this whole thing in Africa with the United States and France and Germany attempting to rewrite history, to deny that they're colonial powers. This is absurd. This is just absurd. And these African governments, like in Chad, like in Kenya, I can name them, like in Ghana. There was something I read where there was a meeting somewhere, and the president of Ghana accused another president of being a friend of Russia. I just imagine such a thing. You're in a meeting of government heads of state, and some clown speaks the U.S. script against you in a meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, we're really showing who these people are. That's why I say let's call them regimes and clowns and puppets. Stop calling them presidents, because they represent nobody but Standard Oil and the banks, the mining interests, those who want to steal the fish off the ocean, all the IMF loans they're paying back, all the World Bank money they're getting. This is just putting Africa more and more in debt. China and Russia at this point have a better plan. Just take that plan and run with it. Why do anything else? You're just stupid.
Yeah.
Whatever money they're making, they're going to make it anyway. So just the hell with it. Just go on and get off the U.S. program. U.S., France, Germany, this got to go.
Yeah.
It just sucks.
I think Russia is doing better than even China in Africa, because they're offering free tuition and studies, university studies, for Africans.
I saw that.
China's not doing that. China's not sort of developing the independence of Africa. China is, developing Africa so that they can have access to African markets and resources. Okay, fine. It's doing better than the United States. But Russia's even, offering, in addition to that development, the intellectual development of Africa as well. So
yeah, I
why
think there's
not?
something going on. I think there's something going on there because I also saw that the offering right now there are a lot of Russian students in Russia, and they're going to open up some schools, some universities in Africa. This is pretty good. I mean, come on.
Wow. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, this shows me that you think the people of the country have potential, that you will go there. And I read on the internet, a commentator said, wow, that's interesting. You're saying no countries have done it before? And the answer is no. No. So yeah, it's just I don't know. I think it's something to consider actually, because I just don't know what to say. It's just a lot happening in Africa right now. And this coup and the Africa Summit, and it's a lot of things that are happening. I just don't know what to say because the U.S. is trying to run the program, but
yeah, there were 9 African countries that were represented at the conference in St. Petersburg, formerly Leningrad, of course.
right.
And so that's 9 major African countries. And so they are showing the way, for the rest of Africa. And I lost my train of thought there because I was so impressed, with the conference. I was following it, on Russia Today. And I'm impressed by Putin to a certain extent as well, in that he knew how to speak to Africa. And
He sure did,
was
didn't
there
he?
as well, the foreign minister, So it's like a strategic orientation that they're making to Africa, and bringing Africa into the whole third world revolution that they seem to be involved in now, together with China. So this is a major step.
It seems like the fact that they're even wanting to make a movement to put an African country on the UN Security Council.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, okay, in real terms, that may mean nothing, but in real terms, that does mean something.
Yeah, it depends who's the speaker,
like it or not. In terms of geopolitical influence, membership on the Security Council of the United Nations is an indication that you are a world power.
Yeah.
Period. You just can't get around that, right?
Right. And that means they have a veto. A permanent member of the Security Council has a veto.
A veto. And it probably, I would think it probably will be South Africa. It's got to be South Africa, Nigeria. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I doubt it will be Angola. It won't be Mozambique. I'm just in what country it might be. But it probably be South Africa.
Yeah, that would be better than Nigeria. Nigeria, I think, is an American client state.
Yeah, it is. There's so many states that just client states of the West. It's just despicable.
Yeah.
And yeah. But anyway, I was looking for I found Prigozhin's statement. It's a very good statement. I didn't like the fact that in the United States we don't get Russia Today anymore. It's banned. It's a banned station. It's amazing. So a lot of people have trouble even keeping up with the real news of the world.
Yeah.
But because I use Telegram and I have my own Telegram channel, and I just aggregate things that I want to see or talk or keep a record of. Yeah. That's how I knew about the Africa Summit. I no, it's not in the news.
No, no way. Yeah.
No, I mean it's not even. It doesn't even exist. In the news. So
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that I hope that whatever's going to happen in Niger can be worked out peacefully.
Yeah.
Again, and this could just be an act of desperation by a group of officers who see what's going on. There's a very interesting video of the Nigerian finance minister. He's crying. He's in tears. And what happened was, according to the story, he was told he had 24 hours to explain where's all the money being spent, or he's going to be shot.
Well,
Well,
that's one way of doing it.
Hey, I mean, again, sometimes you have to just say, look, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
And he was like, if I were him, I'd be getting up all the information right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I would hold nothing. I put all the documents on the table. Here you go.
Yeah, really. That would be a wise career move.
Yeah, because at this point, what happens next week? Who knows what's going to happen next week? I think he has a day or two to give up the information, because apparently these guys they're stealing money, man. You know how these Marcos types are, right? Marcos type, Mobutu Sese Seko, all these corrupt demagogues at the U.S. and France and Germany and the UK. Oh, the UK. They have so much blood on their hands, it goes up to their shoulders, not the elbow. It goes up to the neck. The UK's blood is up to here, okay? So all of them, these leaders, they rape the country, they steal the resources, and then they just take off and go live somewhere, when it's time to go. So if I were the finance minister of Niger, I'd be getting up the information.
Yeah.
And it says something that they threaten him with death if you give up the information. I'm sorry to laugh. Because how often does this happen?
Yeah.
That these clowns who've been stealing, looting, they've been ripping the people off. You know this.
Yeah.
That's how they run these places, man. Come on.
Yeah.
That's how they run it, dude. They run it like that, man. They lie, cheat, steal, rape, pillage, put the money in foreign bank accounts and cryptocurrency. Come on, man.
Yeah. Well, and their capital sponsors, who lend them the money in the first place, like the IMF, they don't care, because they just want, a national bourgeoisie to take root, and grow and keep control of the country. It doesn't matter, how it's done, as long as it's done, that way.
And I can't see why people, especially some leftists, can't see that.
Yeah.
We can't support the coup. Why not? Okay. Let's say they lose next week and Nigeria comes in and wipes everybody out. That might happen.
Yeah.
But for now, they got a little power. Give them a couple of chances. Give them a week to give them a week to put and let the people burn the embassies. Yeah. So what? And France said, if you harm our people, if you harm our interests, we're going to retaliate. Yeah. See, they can threaten people, and nobody says nothing to France.
Yeah.
They don't say a damn thing to them, do they? No.
Yeah.
They can do whatever they want. France can say whatever it wants in Africa. It aren't many countries being forced back to give France money? Some kind of weird payback they're giving France money, and they have this weird ass French francophone money system they have. It's just ridiculous. Yeah.
There's like about 5 different, former French colonies that are somehow obliged to use this French currency, even though France uses a euro.
I wonder if Niger is part of that. That'd be nice research. That'd be a nice research project, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's it for me.
In my area of work, it's bizarre. It's totally bizarre. What's happening in occupied Palestine. This Israeli Zionist regime is a joke. They haven't even been able to even write a constitution. And then this new amendment that they've passed, amendment to the basic law, there's like, they have one paragraph, establishing a Supreme Court, and they want to amend this paragraph to say that the Supreme Court can't decide. Like, what's the point of having a Supreme Court if it can't decide, for itself what it thinks really about, the law that is being passed by the Parliament, Knesset? If it can't, have, a say in whether or not a given law is, legal, then who's going to say? Nobody. That means, the Knesset, with their flimsy little right-wing, coalition, is going to do whatever it wants. They could,
pass
a law to abolish elections, for instance.
All
of a sudden the Supreme Court is not allowed to tell them that they can't do that. Is that what the game is all about? So they had second reading and they've passed it on second reading. On third reading, it's going to become law. Then it goes to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court is going to think, like, how come, we're supposed to, accept a law that abolishes the Supreme Court? Like, this is, untenable.
No.
Like, it can't be done.
No, they're not going to do that.
So the Supreme Court, cannot accept such a amendment, to the basic law. And yet they may, pressure some Supreme Court judges, to accept it. If they do, then, they're finished, then.
They sure are.
Yeah. But if they don't accept it and they send the ball back, to the Knesset, like, what's the Knesset going to do? They're going to pass another law overruling the Supreme Court? Well, that law has to go to the Supreme Court as well,
Yeah.
So,
this whole thing with these Supreme Courts, in the United States, there have been some very repressive and conservative Supreme Court rulings recently, taking away a lot of rights people were given by the Supreme Court. And it's made me wonder, really, when will it come to a time when that can't happen? Because right now, the Supreme Courts give and they take away, and people's rights are not maintained. It's just kind of interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, there's the demonstrations, like in 114, Israeli cities and towns, happening at the same time. But I don't think they've got it together. Like, okay, they've got a lot of people out there, but who are these people? Mainly, the Ashkenazim, like European, Jewish Israelis who are trained, to believe in democracy, even if it's a liberal democracy. So they're out there, to oppose the right wing because they know that the right wing is going to crash and burn the whole project. And they're losing their international connections and their international support, even support from the United States of America. So, the so-called left Zionists, who aren't leftists, Ashkenazim, are out there, protesting, but the government is ignoring them and just sending out, the water trucks, the police, to hose them down. Okay. So how come they haven't been able to, build a united front, that is powerful enough to stop, the government from doing this? Even, they even have support, from, fighter pilots and reserve, volunteers who are refusing service, and the high-tech sector are threatening to pull out of, Israel and go to California. And there's others, who are advocating that people withdraw all their money from the banks and, to kill the banks as well, in protest. Okay, but it's not working. Why? Okay, two reasons. One, the Jewish Arab population of the Israelis, who are called the Mizrahim from North Africa, who came there looking for a better life because they got discriminated against, in North Africa, by the theocratic Muslim laws. Okay. So they come to Israel and they think they're going to make it. They end up, being, the lower class, like cheap labor of the Ashkenazim, working class and national bourgeoisie. So what kind of a program, what kind of an approach do they have, to the Mizrahim? Are they inviting them in to come into this, and expand, the protests, to include a program that will eliminate, discrimination against the Mizrahim? No, they're ignoring the Mizrahim. Mizrahim ignore them in return, so they don't come out. If the Mizrahim came out, the demonstrations would be twice as big because the Mizrahim Arab Jewish population of the Israelis is 50% of the population, and they're being, ignored. Okay, well, that's not good, for a united front building. Secondly, 20%, 23% of the Israeli citizen population are Palestinians and Druze, Arab populations. Are they inviting them in? Are they allowing them to come with their Palestinian flags? No, no. Do they get to speak at the demonstrations? No. Again, a big failure. Two strategic failures in this movement, which leaves them isolated. And the right-wing coalition couldn't care less because they didn't vote for them in the first place. So, why would they, cater to their protests? No way. They don't have to. So they're going to fail. This law is going to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court's going to be put into a very difficult position. And then we can see, this is just the beginning of it all, because after this amendment, that, basically neuters the Supreme Court, then they've got a whole bunch of other laws, lined up, to pass there that the Supreme Court, wouldn't accept in the first place. But once they get rid of the Supreme Court, trial of reasonableness, then they're going to come in with their other laws. Now, another thing that they've done, the right-wing, United Front, is very strategic because they've got, the religious parties in there, which are not even Zionist. They're non-Zionist. Okay, they're not anti-Zionist, but they're non-Zionist. What does that mean? That they don't support sending their children to go and fight in the Israel military. They will not support that because they want to send their children, the boys, to yeshiva, and the girls, to get married as young as possible, to have as many children as possible. And this strategy has worked well, because they've mushroomed, in the number of, members that they have in the Israeli community. So they just want to continue along those lines, to get more and more power. And they want the subsidies as well, for their schools, for their households, for their children and everything like that. And they want the exemption from military service. Now, the big protests, they're saying, oh, this is not fair. They're actually, cutting themselves off from the religious, communities, which is a third strategic error, because they're saying that they want them to go into the military. Instead of saying, let's get rid of conscription because we don't need it. Who's going to threaten Israel anyway? What do they need conscription for? For the occupation, of course, to back up the occupation and to back up the squatters there. Well, why don't they get rid of the conscription? It means they have to stop the occupation, but they don't talk about the occupation. It's not a subject for discussion. So they're going to kill themselves for that reason as well. So the right wing is winning in this battle, even though they've lost, a majority of the popular support. If there was an election now, they wouldn't have a majority anymore. They have 64 seats and they need 53, 52 to have a majority. If there was an election now, they'd be getting 50, they would be getting 48. Yeah, that's what I saw. They would be getting 48 seats, and the left-wing United Front, together with the Palestinian parties, would have about 54. And so they would stop the right wing in their tracks. But right now, the right-wing coalition is not going to allow themselves to be defeated. They're going to push, for everything they can get, while they have a mandate, to pass the laws. And they're going to, pass whatever. And then, if it gets, really bad, because there can be a civil war over all of this. I even saw, some right-wing Zionist drive his car through a demonstration of the protesters, throwing 3 people into the air, and it wasn't even covered in the news. It was just, like a video that I got on TikTok through Twitter, as it's still called. Yeah. And, there's this civil war breaking out there. Now, if there's a civil war, this government can say, oh, we've got to implement martial law, bring the army in to stop, the two sides from fighting for the good of the nation. Well, once there's martial law, there's no more elections. Just like Zelensky, said in Ukraine, there's martial law, so we can't have any election. The next election is canceled until martial law is finished. When's martial law to be ended? Oh, and when the war is ended. And are they willing to negotiate an end to the war? No. So same thing, Ukraine is now like another, like Zionist state. And of course, they're being allied together. So this is, a disaster. And this may bring down, Israel, because if the Palestinians get it together, between the West Bank, Gaza, and the Palestinians inside of, like 48, Palestine, then they would have something, like going. And then they would be able to have, the weight in order to speak, to the Israeli opposition, say, you want our support? Then give us a program and let us come to the demonstrations with a Palestine flag. And then, we can talk about, bringing down this government. Otherwise, they're going to lose. There has to be a united front strategy on both sides. And they're not making it. Yeah. So it's, okay. So it's all going to degenerate until there's, a revolutionary alternative, that's developed somehow, somewhere. And, this is just, pre-revolutionary conditions. We're not, anywhere close to the revolution yet, but.
No. But, as long as there's struggle, there's hope. And I was telling somebody a few weeks ago when they had the initial upsurge, I think it was I think it was in Gaza. Some Palestinian groups have gotten together and there's some offensive actions. I was telling somebody in the United States, it seems to me if things are changing, that there are a group of young Palestinians and Arabs in general who aren't scared of the Israelis.
Yeah.
And when you're not scared of your enemy, it changes the dynamic of the fight. Yeah. You still might lose. You might get wiped out, but it's a different fight when you're not scared.
Yeah.
Well, it's important to not be scared.
Yeah. At least in the West Bank, the different political parties have formed a united front. They have a popular resistance committees.
There you go.
And it doesn't matter what party they are. They don't even talk about what party they are members of. They're just working together, on the issues of the day, and this is becoming, more powerful than any of the parties there.
Right.
No,
right.
Like the
that's important.
Jenin Brigade and the Nablus Brigade, fighters.
Yes.
They come from various parties. They're not just one party, like it was before. So, people, will rally behind that because they know that the actions, of this group is not in favor of building, the image or the credibility of one party. It is for, all of the people that they're fighting. So the people were supported. But
I'm all for that, brother. I have complete solidarity with them. 100% solidarity.
I wish I was there, to help out.
Yeah. Right. Well, we have to do whatever we can from wherever we are until we can get to where we want to be.
Yeah, okay. I like that. That sounds like a rap there,
Well, that's what you got to do. I mean, I wouldn't mind being in Niger or in Burkina Faso right now.
Yeah,
it's where the action is. It's where the action is, man. Sometimes you got to be where the action is. You just got to just take the risk. Oh well, do what I can. But since I'm not there, I'm gonna do what I can from here.
Yeah,
that's it.
If Nigeria does invade Niger and tries to overthrow this coup revolution, then they should, ask for international volunteers like the international brigades, in the Spanish Civil War, to come over, and help out and stop, the U.S. client agents, from Nigeria coming in there and massacring, all the revolutionaries, which is what they would do. So, perhaps this can become a big thing. Yeah.
Well, like I said, I hope it does, because we gotta stop. We just gotta put our foot down. Say these puppet regimes cannot just steal the money, plunder, give us all these IMF loans and World Bank aid projects, and it's in essence turning the country over to the foreign monopolies. This has just got to stop. It's and all of your anti-coup. The only coups you don't like are the ones that the leaders are not controlled by you. That's the only coups you don't like. The ones the leaders are controlled by you, you don't even care. Oh well, whatever. Great. Democracy is one. That's what they say. Yeah. Okay, man. Well, this is a very good conversation. Thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
We only have a few minutes left, So to wrap up, I can refer to the progress that's been made. The Jewish Bundist martyrs, from Phoenix, Arizona, of 2019, all of their writings, are now been compiled into 2 books. And the title of the book is The Manual of Revolution. The first book is coming out in 767 pages. It's being published, by a regular publisher, has accepted it for publishing, and it's going to be plastered all over the place. And then the remaining writings, which are numerous, it's incredible. These people were, like all brilliant writers. That's going to be a book 2 of the Manual of Revolution, and it's all ready. I've completed it after getting the files, just this spring. So that work is accomplished and is going to be out soon. And the drafts are already on the academia.edu site of my name. So, we're moving ahead. So great to speak with you again, Steve. And, we'll come together in next week again, right? Yeah, man. Okay, here we go. Off and on away.